Woohoo! Happy Two Piano Tuesday. We're live.
Happy Two Piano Tuesday. I'm Elizabeth Joy Rowe.
I'm Greg Anderson.
Yeah. And we are so excited to be here live with you. I hope that you are, in the mood to celebrate piano artistry and just the fantastic talent that we met last summer at the 2022 Cliburn International Piano Competition. We had the honor of being the on-site competition correspondents. And as a result, we really got close with the action behind the scenes, and we got to hear all the compelling stories that underlay the competition. And so we are just so excited to be here.
Absolutely. We also got to meet these competitors and really get to know them, which ended up being extremely rewarding for both of us. And we hope for you at the end of these presentations. Today's particular show, we're going to talk about competition trends. As a result of being there throughout the competition, we saw certain ideas kind of come together. It was just a really dramatic competition from start to finish. And for those of you who are familiar with the winners, we produced some incredible winners, but there were so many incredible pianists throughout the competition and so many very special stories. So today, instead of talking about just the winners, they'll be included in today's presentation, but we decided to talk about all of the competitors' actions and commonalities and juxtapositions. And I'm in particular maybe most excited about this show, so we're really glad you're here.
Yes, and we hope that you just say hello from wherever you're tuning in the world. Looks like we have some people from overseas, and we're just so excited to be gathering with our fellow pianophiles. The Cliburn competition last summer was one of the most epic experiences that we have had the pleasure to be a part of. And, even going through and reminiscing about all the incredible performances and just humans that we encountered, it's just been such a empowering and poignant and moving experience, but also celebratory. So Greg, I don't know if you have libation on.
Oh, I do. Since it's like happy hour, I have some hard apple cider, so we might be extra loopy by the end. But much of this actually has been pre-prepared. We created vignettes, which kind of showcasing all of these themes. And I think actually, just to give you a taste, let's start with one of them.
Yeah.
And we'll keep ourselves on the screen for this one. Some of them we're going to get rid of ourselves so you can just watch. But this first one's just so silly and playful that we thought it would be good just to join you as we watch. This is a short clip called Getting Situated.
Some fans of the hair.
Yes.
Hair, yes. You look like an artist.
Oh, thanks.
You're just like Rocky Balboa.
Especially in the coda.
We are fans. Okay.
So good. Yeah.
I really love you.
Oh, no.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you know who we are. Oh. No, he's checking his hair.
Well, it doesn't.
We just said it looks like you didn't perform. You look very put together. Yeah.
Hard because COVID, I'm used to talking.
No, I know. I'm like, let's all pray. We're all healthy.
Ryan wants us to be all close.
Okay. Okay. No, I.
Song and dance routine with Ilya Schmuckler. Bravo. How are you?
So, we keep things simple.
You look very sharp. I know. Yay! Yeah!
Is everything working over there?
The competition
so many great memories.
Yeah, and it spanned 16 days. And so we really got to know who these people were, not only as musicians, but as humans. And it was fabulous to get to catch them in that vulnerable moment off stage. And we also guaranteed that it would be, not broadcast live. So all of the reactions we got were just unfiltered, raw, they're just recovering from the performance. And a lot of times it was just, we could relate to what they were going through.
Exactly. The original plan was actually to have more of these interviews make their way into the live casts as they were happening. But having been backstage myself and seen how many different things are going on, it's pure chaos and madness and so exciting. But it was hard for them. They included some, but it was hard for them to like just stay up to date with everything that was going on. So I think this is actually a better way to show all of these interviews, because we were able to like kind of bring these commonalities together.
Yeah, and for additional context, for those of you who might be just tuning in and don't have the background information of the Cliburn competition, this was the 16th edition of the quadrennial professional event. The Cliburn also does an amateur and now a junior competition. And so this is where, the real professionals, the budding kind of superstars of the piano world come to compete. And there were 30 competitors gathered from all around the world who came to Fort Worth, Texas, which is the home place or the birthplace of the great Van Cliburn, and obviously the namesake of the competition. And so we always felt like Van's spirit was hovering in the room, and he must have felt so proud seeing the phenomenal talent come through the building.
Well, it's worth mentioning. It might feel really obvious to Liz and me because we have spent so much time there, but this is like the creme de la creme of piano competitions. It's like the Olympics of the piano, and not just because of how grueling it is, but because of how competitive it is. It's really the best of the best are selected after many pre-applications and live rounds that happen before the actual competition takes place. And the pianists there, any one of them could handle a major career. And this competition does an incredible job of finding the ones that really can excite and rivet an audience and withstand a major touring career. And if you haven't watched some of the live streams or some of the competitors, you'll get to do so through these live streams, but you'll also have the opportunity to go watch any of their performances on YouTube. They're all archived for future viewing.
And one of the gifts, and one of the gifts of our role was to watch the progression of the artists in terms of them getting comfortable with the audience and with us. There are 4 rounds in the competition, and things obviously get more intense as it goes along. That said, sometimes the first round has some of the most exciting and intense material, and I think what we're going to see next showcases a lot of those initial feelings.
It sure does. So I'm going to add to stream here. This is this next video, a vignette. We asked every single competitor after they walked off stage of the first round, how are they feeling? And the results are very varied. And you'll see that in this clip. Here we go. You just competed in the Cliburn competition. How do you feel right now?
I feel very good.
It's amazing feeling. It's like dream came true.
It was great.
I was not nervous and I just enjoyed.
I think I'm pretty happy.
I feel quite good.
I was totally concentrated.
Overwhelmed with gratitude and good emotions.
Overwhelming, really. It was unbelievable.
Contrasting palette of emotions right now is just burning me out, actually. But it was something special for me.
So I'm just, it's over, I guess.
How are you feeling right now, just having walked off the stage?
Sweaty. I feel very sweaty.
Sorry, I'm super sweaty.
You haven't even sweating.
I just clean. Yeah, I clean before I come, so that's why you didn't see.
No sweat.
Nah, so here.
I'm honestly exhausted, and you can see it. I give it all. Usually I prefer to have performances like this where I completely lose it sometimes, but I'm giving 110% of myself.
once I started this sonata, like I thought, oh, I started to play. Oh, I cannot escape from this world. So I was so nervous.
Well, first of all, a bit tired. I'm feeling a bit tired. Yeah, that was a tough period of my life. This 40 minutes were tough.
I was afraid of the fact that I might feel tired, but I think the audience, they are so passionate. So somehow I have the energy to continue.
I'm full of energy right now. I can do that again.
Really?
Yeah.
You're so relaxed right now.
It's like, you know, I understand that I control everything. I'm not nervous.
A bit stressful, especially in the beginning.
Well, honestly, I was very nervous.
Really?
Yeah, very nervous.
Didn't sound like it.
Participating in the kind of old age has so much pressure, I think, personally.
Yeah, but yeah, still in the moment to feel anything.
Oh, it's done. The first round is done. It's a bit relieved.
I feel much better than before my performance.
I'm feeling fine. Not so bad, but not so good.
Comme ci, comme ça.
Pas tout à fait content de ce que j'ai fait aujourd'hui, mais ben, il y a des bonnes choses, il y a des mauvaises choses, mais ok, c'est ça la vie.
Well, I was really nervous. Yeah, and I cannot remember what I did, actually, yeah. So I hope everyone enjoyed that.
Sounded like they did.
Do you remember what it was like before you walked on stage?
Oh, no, I cannot.
A bunch of charmers there.
Oh, a bunch of charmers. Do you see how, I mean, some people would walk off stage. It is one of the most stressful things a human being could possibly do. I mean,
Yeah.
playing the piano is hard enough, but playing it under these sort of circumstances is much harder. That sort of pressure and
Yeah. You mentioned the Olympics earlier. This is exactly the Olympics. I mean, the first round, you have, 40 minutes to present who you are as a pianist and to, bare your soul, but also be accurate and, just nail all the elements of the program. And, what's crazy is that, you're an artist and you're trying to dwell in this world of kind of subjective emotion and interpretation. But at the same time, you have to bring your A game and to kind of not succumb to the pressures of the competitive environment. And so it takes a lot of psychological strength. And you just saw the relief and sometimes the apprehension that followed their initial performances.
well, and that brings up our next vignette. And for me, this may be my absolute favorite vignette of this entire series, because what we did is throughout the rounds, collected competitors' responses to the various challenges they personally experienced while competing. And of course, we were interviewing them immediately after. And as pianists know, we can be a neurotic bunch. And some of these things, sometimes just there can be a single sound that distracts us. And in a competition like this, you have to really work to evolve past that. And all these competitors had quite the insights on how they handled it, and in some cases how they didn't handle it as well as they would like. Are we ready to watch?
Check out what we call Nerves of Steel.
The last second, if the program is gonna work out, so you can travel to the States, plan for 6 months, but you can never be sure that it will work out. At least for me. So it's like kind of masochism, but if it works, it's cool.
Months of preparation for this competition. And right now, we just gotta be at your best. When you're on stage, you have one chance. That has to be it.
After having such 40 minutes, you start to respect the guys who do amazing job every round, much more. So it's incredible.
Well, I mean, that's a very human response. And we've been there where we've just been so distracted or tired or just not feeling 100%.
So you can play many times. I mean, you can play 10 times, 20 times. And after you go on stage and something happens and something could happen.
I had the problem because this drop came into my eye, and I was like doing something like, because I couldn't open my eye and I was playing, you know.
How are you feeling having just walked off your quarterfinal round recital?
Well, I don't think it went as well as it could have, but that is sort of the nature of performances, and it is what it is, and it's passed. My first round and this round, I think today the exact same alarm went off. Like literally almost the same time. No, in the hall. In the hall? Almost the same time as my first round, even though they were different times, but they were both towards the beginning of my program. So that was,
oh my gosh.
But you know, these, again, I know these things happen.
Practice with the alarm and be like,
If there is somebody really close making some noise, then I cannot hear anything but just this noise. And that was the case today. So I was all the time basically listening to her or his poor attempts to cough, but it didn't really work. I hope she's doing well now. That's the part of the game. No, that's exactly it.
How do you deal with the ups and downs psychologically of events like this?
Well, I think it's best not to sort of think too far ahead, to take things sort of a step at a time, to accept when certain things happen, and to know that certain things are out of your control.
There is no time to think about how was that. I wanted to play this phrase more beautifully and more intonation in that. No time for that.
I think for the competitors, it's easier for them to just expect that they will not do good in competition before they go on stage. Yes. Because in that sense, they are relaxed.
First round was really nervous, and second round was fine, but still a little bit nervous. But this time, a lot of repertoire required, so I was just thinking, whatever. Yeah, like whatever happens. Time flies. I'm gonna be done anyways. Like, yeah, at some point I'm gonna be done.
Were you anxious about it at all?
I was a little bit before, but I realized that, being anxious and worrying about stuff, only kind of detracts from your performance. And so I kind of went on just enjoying the moment, living in the moment, and, whatever happens, happens. And I'm just very glad that I got this opportunity.
You have the right mental fortitude for the competitive environment. That takes a lot of strength.
Toughest is first round. Because everything was new, and then a lot of cameras, and so I wasn't used to like what's going on.
Even though there was piano selection time, so with audience it's completely different. So I mean, I used to practice only first note when I just go into the piano and then sit and then just first note, maybe 5 times.
Wow.
just only the first note.
This is the most repertoire I think I've ever prepared in such a short amount of time.
So tired. Yeah, so tired. I mean,
Very exhausted. Yeah.
It's very stressful indeed. And I think in general, because I didn't have dinner last night, I think I'm a little low in sugar. So that's why I got two chocolates right now, a banana, and try to fuel it up. Yeah.
What did you prepare specifically today for the performance?
That's a good question. I don't know if I should answer honestly, but well, I have a fantastic host. So we cook a lot, we drink a lot, water, and just
Usually before the performance, I took a nap. Yeah, and then eat a lot.
What kind of food?
Well, anything. Well, fruit or steak. Today I had a lunch like hamburger. So
I didn't eat like before the performance because I can't eat before because of like I don't know. I don't know why.
What? Okay. In addition to feeling relief, what else are you feeling?
Relieved, and then suddenly, nervous again. Yeah.
Nervous again.
Mhm.
Because are you thinking back at everything that you just
No,
did?
like
or-
tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't blame you. It's
Yeah,
intense.
that's how competitions go.
For those of you tuning into Two Pianos Tuesday, welcome. We are so excited to present this special series based on our experiences backstage at Cliburn 2022. 안녕하세요 to all of the Korean fans. We love that you're talking in the chat. And I also love this comment because I think Greg and I are feeling the same. We want to go back to June of last year. We need more magic. And with all that's going on in our lives and in the world around us, I think there was something so magical about this event. And you can see just, the true, authentic reactions of the competitors after their performances in that previous vignette. And, quite touching and quite relatable, I would say.
Yeah, you're saying, it's like, I want to go back to the music, but the overall stress levels in the backstage environment maybe isn't someplace I want to spend the entire rest of my life. Everyone, of course, was of a good nature and kind and clearly madly in love with what they were doing. And so that energy is an absolute yes. But that particular vignette reminded me of many of the frustrations we saw people go through. I mean, something like competing in the Cliburn means so much to every one of the competitors. And when things don't go the way they want, which it's really hard to do, I felt so earnestly and so bad for them when they were frustrated. But then I also enjoyed, like Dennis Linick there was talking about the coughing, and it was an early morning and he was stressed, and things didn't go the way he liked. But I watched his whole performance twice, once as it happened in real time, but again while editing these videos, and they sound amazing. But I know that's not always the experience we feel as competitors.
Oh, or as musicians. I mean, I think all of the musicians out there can attest to this feeling of frustration when you have this ideal vision of what you want to present and what you hear in your head, and it doesn't quite come out exactly as you imagine. And it's just, the challenge of being an artist. There's like the platonic ideal, and what comes out is just reality. But, I think what's also, something to be mindful of is that I love how raw and honest they were with their responses, because there is something about, being in a competition and you feel like you have to be at your best and be performative and show, put your best foot forward. But, I think they're giving us a look into the struggles that happens, when you're trying to be in this environment. You're trying to be your best, and you're dealing with all sorts of stressors, and it's not a walk in the park.
Well, and we talk about it as being almost unnatural, what is being asked of these pianists, but Liz and I have spent we were 20 years together touring as a duo, and for most of those years we were doing about 100 concerts, 80 to 100 concerts a year, and those same conditions in a competition exist in the life of a concert pianist. There was 1 year, there's 1 week we went all the way around the world, and in 1 week we played in, I think it was, Seattle, then Singapore, then London, then Los Angeles in 6 days. And you wake up and you don't know where you are or what time it is or even what program you need to play. And it kind of is like what happens in the competition with these competitors. The circumstances are grueling. You're pulling out new repertoire that you just learned alongside old repertoire, and then a whole new program the next day. And you don't get to always control the time you go on stage. You don't get to control when the audience coughs. All those things happen in real life, in addition to competitions. And it's one of the tests that you have to go through in these competitions, because those skills do serve you as you tour as a concert pianist.
That's right. Although arguably the stakes are higher at the Cliburn because you're ranked in a way, or, it's like you only get so many chances to perform. And, what I'm hoping is that, no matter what the results are, and of course there were, 3 incredible medalists, we hope that whatever they do and pursue, that they'll be able to take the lessons from this experience and apply it to their performing lives.
I just want to acknowledge MK before we move on to our next video. MK asked, you guys, is it live stream? Yes, we are here live with you. All your comments, we're reading as they come in. And you can certainly ask questions of us as we go through. It's particularly related to the topics we're discussing. We'll have 4 other shows to talk about the finalists and all of the winners. But today we're focusing on the trends we saw throughout the competition. And Liz, are we ready to move on to our next trend?
Yes, let's dive into programming. And by this, we mean choosing the repertoire for your competition recitals. And this is a topic of which Greg and I are very passionate, and we are definitely mindful with our programming, to put together pieces that represent who we are and also what fascinates us at the time and what can connect with our audiences. And the competitors have the extra challenge because at the Cliburn you actually have free repertoire choice, which is amazing, but you have to be very canny with, you have a limited amount of time. What are you going to show, especially if you're not sure if you're going to advance? What are you going to show, especially in that first round, that hopefully will allow you to advance? So.
And there is, we'll talk about it after we watch it, but there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. But here is the programming vignette to share.
Well, I'm always very particular about my choice of repertoire because it always comes from my desire to play it and to play it at the moment. So it just happened to be that these pieces have occurred to me at different moments of my life and came together as a constellation. That's very simple. That's the way. I know some of them are kind of obscure, but they are not obscure to me. So I always felt, it's interesting to share the discoveries with the audience as well. Yeah.
As with all of my programming, it's just a collection of my favorite pieces that I would love to share with the audience. Similar, like, you hear a new hit on the radio and you're like, I'm going to tell my friend, he's going to love this. Just like that, I think it's the same type of emotions and connections that I'm trying to do.
It's just when you decide a program is always like what pieces do you feel more connected with your soul and what you are. And so I just tried, of course, to give a balanced view of what I can be.
First of all, I wanted to play pieces from all periods, from all epochs. It's just pieces I love, and I thought they're very good together.
It's my favorite pieces. I always try to play my favorite composers and pieces.
every time I think about starting this piece, whether it's in the beginning or not, it always makes me a little bit calmer. In some ways, it wasn't too bad for me to start the program with. It calmed me a bit.
How did you decide to perform one of your own compositions?
Well, it was very simple reason for that round. I simply had just enough time. I'm always a little humble to put my name within such amazing and beloved composers as Rachmaninoff and Schumann. So it's a little bit of responsibility, but I felt it's a nice combination. And again, it's a way to share something new, something which hasn't been really heard.
The special thing is, I think, the performance order. Yeah. Mostly, well, people like to end with big pieces, like Prokofiev, for example. But I try to end with Schumann. Yeah. Because the last song of the Schumann name is The End of Song, right? So that's why, yeah, I try to say goodbye to all audience.
I'm bringing Liz and me on for the end of this, if only because Jinhyun sits there for an extraordinarily long time. But keep in mind, he had just competed now this 3 full recital rounds, and for him, this was his last moment as a soloist in the competition. And it was a really special moment to behold in person.
In glorious Bass Hall. I love that the through line for so many of the competitors regarding their programming was love. Pieces that they love, pieces that they just feel so connected with. And honestly, that is the secret sauce, right? For all of us as musicians, we need to find the music that really resonates with us, because that's the music that will come across with the most convincing power. It's not, what's so fantastic about the Cliburn is there's not the rote, play a sonata by Beethoven, play, I don't know, a sonata from this era or whatever. You have free choice. So you really get to showcase your personality and your interests as an artist.
And many of the competitors did make a clear statement about who they were rather than try and show just a complete balance. They focused on the romantic or modern repertoire that really excited them, and they did very well. I don't think there are any rules. I used to say to Liz, I actually stopped myself doing competitions pretty early, even while I was still at Juilliard. I stopped doing them because I found I kept trying to play for the judge or play for whatever the rules were, and I found in myself I was losing myself in that. And I said to Liz once, I love Rachmaninoff's first piano sonata. I really just want to play that. I can never play that in a competition and get away with that. And so I played it and didn't do the competitions. But then, of course, I was proven wrong when Vadim Kolodenko at the Cliburn competition.
Killed it. It was incredible.
Yeah, was that 9 years ago? When he played the Rachmaninoff first piano sonata and won the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So while I do think there is some strategy to how you program and trying to impress the judges in some particular way, I think the most important strategy is to really play what you love, as many of these competitors were talking about.
That's right.
Because the audience and the judges can smell authenticity so easily.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they're going to continue to do beyond the competition, right? It's to play what they really, get excited by. And, it was just lovely to see the variety and the contrasts, and also to speak with, to get some insights after the competition. But another element that made the 2022 edition of the Cliburn so unforgettable and dramatic, I would say, is the circumstances that were in the background. And by that, I mean, the geopolitical situation with the war in Ukraine and how that was hovering. It was sort of like this, I would say the competition felt so joyous, but you couldn't ignore what was happening in the world at large. And it was definitely on competitors' minds, and we could tell it showed up in the programming as well.
It was a sensitive issue for many to talk about. Just quick summarization, there were several Russian competitors in the competition, and I really admired how the Cliburn decided to handle this, because it was a fraught situation. But Cliburn himself won the Tchaikovsky competition during the Cold War while in Russia, and he was an American, and that did in some ways many things to thaw some of the tensions. And the Cliburn decided that music is something that brings people together, and is an opportunity for us to all share in our collective humanity. And we saw throughout the competition the Russian competitors, as well as the sole Ukrainian competitor, all got along with each other. As I understand it, some of the Russians felt uncomfortable talking too much about what was going on for personal family reasons, but it was something that everyone was thinking about and struggling with on some level. And this next vignette will show some of that. This is a vignette we call Programming in a Time of War, and it specifically talks about some of the particular repertoire choices these competitors made as a result of current events. Here we go. Oops. This one. Maybe the most interesting recital program we've heard throughout the competition, with your clear military theme.
Yeah, for this program, it's kind of half-half, just like I walk off stage. Of course, the first three pieces, it's like the foreshadowing of the war.
You played music of the Ukrainian composer Lyatoshinsky.
I've been in Ukraine like back to 2010, so I think it's quite nice to discover some really, really beautiful yet less played music by a lot of Ukrainian composers.
And then you did one of the Prokofiev war sonatas.
And the second part is the real war itself.
That's interesting that there are not so many Prokofiev 7 this year, and there are 4 Prokofiev 8s. Everything is in the world, and I can say that I can feel it very deeply, and I hope that especially this Prokofiev sonata, I think that was the right choice for me, and especially for this time of the year.
Just sometimes you're so kind of into the music that you forget, what's going on in the world. And this is kind of me at least tackling for myself what does it mean to kind of live in a time of war, and kind of try to delve into what Prokofiev was thinking at the time, the oppression of the USSR.
For me, this particular choice of this piece and also of Chopin's sonata was my reaction to what's happening, and it's connected to war. And I think Scriabin predicted a lot of things composing in the year he composed, because he felt that there is going to be a huge war, the First World War. And so I had in the first bars, the opening, which you must not play, you must spell as a magician. For me, this is the sound of falling bombs far away, like this. And I had this very strong image, and this is why I chose this piece. I think it's when evil triumphs.
In today's world situation, just all the points they were telling me that I have to take this Caravan of Peace because it's nice first, and second, I wanted to express some solidarity with Ukraine. I have lots of Russian music in my repertoire. In today's situations, I wanted to balance it somehow with the composer, who has a story actually also quite interesting for today's situation, because he's from Crimea, and he got the title Honored Composer of Ukraine when Crimea was part of Ukraine, and he's an author of Crimean anthem. But now Crimea is part of Russia, but it's obviously Ukrainian piece. So it's my harmless attempt to express some solidarity.
It's a challenging topic, but it's one of those things that music does a good job of.
Yes.
And I really appreciated the competitors willing to put themselves out there, both to talk about it, but also to play these pieces that meant so much to them, so specifically in that moment in time.
Yeah, and when you look at performers on the stage these days, you see people like Igor Levit, people who are just out there being pretty political. Maybe in the past, people would shy away from sharing views. And I think with social media and also with our multicultural landscape, you see that people are involved and have opinions and, are even activists to some level, and are using music to kind of share their feelings and, or even trying to reconcile with a lot of the complexity that's happening around us. And so I think that, it's risky on a certain level because it's a competition, but I also feel, as you said, Greg, that music fills in where words fail. And, it's a way to kind of promote a sort of unity or solidarity or call for peace or call for harmony across borders. And so it gave this competition an extra gravitas that I have not witnessed in previous editions.
Before we move on to our next vignette, I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of the comments that I'm watching come in. And Libiana mentioned, sad he always failed on competitions. And I believe that was in reference to one of the competitors that Libiana liked and didn't advance. And we were talking about challenges of competitions, and that is just an absolute part of the challenge of competitions. We didn't get to interview competitors after they found out they hadn't advanced, but I think that could have been interesting and revealing. One of the reasons I stopped doing competitions myself was because I found I work so hard to be vulnerable on stage and to be just really in touch with my emotions, while at the same time in a competition you have to have those nerves of steel, and I could never get the two to reconcile in myself, to be sturdy and emotionally strong while accessing my most sensitive inner sides. And some people are, Yunshan is really able to do that, to be sturdy and strong emotionally while accessing some of the most beautiful facets of humanity. But in a competition setting, I struggled with that a lot. I have an easier time when there's an audience and the stakes are different. But some people just don't have this. Some people are unlucky. It's different with everyone.
So we are going to focus our next vignette on the one requirement for the preliminary round, and that was to play the commissioned work by Sir Stephen Hough, who is one of the great pianists and scholars and humans of our time. He is just cosmopolitan and brilliant, and he wrote this sparkling piece for each of the competitors to perform. And we thought it was kind of intriguing to see the performances juxtaposed with each other, because the interpretations really varied so much stylistically.
But I loved the piece. To me, it sounded like rainbows exploding every which way. So here's the vignette on the commissioned work, Sir Stephen Hough's Fanfare Toccata.
Well, how does it feel to be off the stage and to have opened this entire competition?
Well, it's a huge responsibility, first of all, for the competition, and of course for the commissioned work, which is a world premiere. And I had this opportunity to open the gates to the story. I really hope that there is going to be a lot of different rendition of this particular piece. We are 30 and all our visions are so different. I hope that Stephen won't be so tired after 30th time of listening to his own music. But it's a splendid piece. It's a very, very pianistic, very exciting to play, very risky to play.
Yeah, that was a tough period of my life. This 40 minutes were tough, especially beginning from Stephen Hough, when I had some, how do you say, 2 seconds memory sleep. So the thing is, I didn't know that we're allowed to play it without, so with the score. I just didn't check it apparently.
You were one of the few competitors to play the Hough from memory, and you only had 2 months to prepare that. How did you get that ready in time?
Well, that was really tough. I mean, there are some things about that piece I think are not immediately noticeably difficult, but upon getting to know it, there are some challenges that I think are really, really hard to overcome. The rhythmic aspect, the sort of clusters, just getting it technically in shape, and then very importantly, sort of the structure, and I think it's pretty genius how it's written, but it definitely takes some thinking to get through and put it together.
It sounded like you've been playing it for your whole life.
So every night with electronic keyboard, I was like
He went actually to the same high school that I went to in Cheatham's in Manchester. So he was kind of an idol. I mean, he's an idol everywhere, but there especially. So I always wanted to meet him somehow. So when I had the fortune of getting a commission piece written for me, I thought immediately, like, let's see if he would be willing to do it. And thankfully he said yes. It's a partita with 5 movements, which also ends with a toccata. Actually, it's quite similar. I was worried that I would start the wrong piece on stage.
It's just so fun as well. I think it's just very big and bombastic, which is exactly what I like.
You know, one of the best things about new music is really being able to carve your personal approach, your personal interpretation to the notes that you read on the page. And we very much experience that so clearly with this commissioned work.
Exactly. All 30 interpretations were quite different from each other. But one thing that I really enjoyed was waiting for those final 6 notes of the piece, dun, 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 because everyone played them so differently. And what I decided to do was just stitch together 10 of the more varied ones, so we could watch for ourselves right now how different some of these endings sounded. Are we ready?
Let's jump right in.
I'm gonna keep us on the screen with my sound on, because I might throw a few comments in, but I love this piece. Here we go. Kind of fell down.
Oh, very staccato. Oh,
big last note.
Oh.
And a short last note.
Yes. And yes, the gold medalist Yoon Chanlin did win the commission prize performance.
He did. He won the commission prize performance for that particular piece. And for the record, the judges actually vote on that commissioned prize after the first round. They don't discuss it at the end of the competition. They do it there at the first round. So that means after the judges listened to all 30, they decided right then and there that Yoon Chun was the winner of that particular prize. And then they saved that announcement until after the finals are complete and they're delivering all the announcents.
And Greg, did you have a chance to talk a bit with Stephen?
I did. I did talk to Stephen Hough. And actually, we hosted the Cliburn competition in 2017, and I talked to Marc-Andre Hamlin about the commissioned work, and he was one of the judges back then. And they both did have a lot to say about it, but I don't know what I am allowed or shouldn't say. but I do know that Stephen Hough was very impressed by Yoon Chun's performance, and he said that it really embodied all of the different characteristics he had hoped would come out of that piece. And he was very pleased. But he was also very pleased with the whole lot of them, and really enjoyed hearing the different perspectives.
So we're going to jump right into our next vignette, which is about what the competitors decide to do after their performances. And so, you know, we're always curious, because after our performances, we usually want to like get a drink or hang out, or maybe just go to our hotel rooms and watch TV or something. So we were curious to see what they would do, because obviously, you know, most of them probably want to practice, but still, we got some interesting answers.
Here are the answers for what are you going to do now that you just walked off the Cliburn stage.
given what you just went through, are you going to go celebrate right now, or are you going to run back to the practice room to prepare for the next round should you make it?
I'm running back to the piano.
Of course, I will practice today and tomorrow.
I think I will go to practice.
For now, I'm just curious, like, if possibly I get into next round, like when will I play? I'm just but it doesn't help thinking too much of that, so I will just practice.
Well, hopefully a little bit more practice later, but yeah.
I might be again playing on this piano. It's always good to keep these fresh things that I've just experienced, and to try it out pretty much immediately.
You're going to watch your performance from just now
to review. Yeah, I will review my performance, and then I will figure out if it was good or not.
You are like a professional athlete. You know, you want to watch to make sure you have the right form.
You have to re-listen to the recording to have an opinion, because now I feel quite disastrous, but relieved.
Well, I think I'm pretty tired right now, so I think I'm gonna definitely drink a lot and maybe take a nap. A good nap, that sounds good. And probably, start practicing slowly, mentally.
Of course, I want to celebrate. I mean, it's done. Just for today. Like, I think I lost some weight, so I can really eat whatever.
Finished all my solo repertoire. That's
the hard stuff's out of the way.
Yeah. I will just delete it on my iPad.
Done any celebrations so far, or have you just been practicing?
Practicing, but today, yeah, I'm going for dinner with my host family. We already made a reservation. Yeah, so I have to go.
I love the reservation, because honestly, all I want after performing is to have a really good meal somewhere. So.
But I also just love how basically everyone was like, I gotta practice.
Yeah, well, actually, it makes a lot of sense because there's so much repertoire to prepare. So
there really is, and they're very focused. I mean, it's a 24-hour job for 3 weeks there at the Cliburn. We're about to close out our show. I wanted to first mention we have one kind of funny vignette to play here at the end. But I wanted to first mention next week's show because it features the 3 finalists who didn't medal, Vlad, Clayton, and Ilya. But the 3 of them are such fun, wild personalities that just really stole the interview stage. So editing together the vignettes for that episode has been really fun. Very interesting. They're very eloquent and very passionate. And we definitely implore you to join us next Tuesday at the same time for that particular episode. And you've been wonderful. We love all the comments, and we look forward to continue engaging with you for that show.
That's right. So calling all fans of Władysław Kandoi, Clayton Stevenson, and Ilya Schmuckler, they will be our spotlight artists next week. But before
next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Is that correct?
That's right.
Time.
But before we sign off, we thought we'd share a humorous clip. As we mentioned at the top, the competition happens in Fort Worth, Texas, which is cowboy country. It's got, that Texan hospitality. And for a lot of the competitors, it was their first time, not only in the States, but in Texas, which could be its own country. So they shared some of their wonderful experiences with their host families and getting a little taste of cowboy culture.
Here we go.
Mr. Alexander Corsantia, one of my 2 teachers in NEC.
Mr. Corsantia also competed in the Cliburn, right? I think in 93, I believe. So
I'm one more step than him.
Oh, snap. No, but did he have any words of advice? Because obviously going through something like this is really grueling. Did he have anything specific in preparation for the Cliburn?
He told me to enjoy some Texas steak.
Texas steak, okay.
I had my first corn dog just like a few days ago. It's like, it's been something that I've been seeing all over the media, and finally.
We're going to the rodeo, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, I went to a baseball game for the first time. Like, yeah, yesterday. I liked it really much. Yeah, it's like I didn't know the rules even, but my friend explained it to me. So.
What did you eat at the baseball game?
Oh, I could eat everything there. It's like I can take everything what I want. So I took many things,
Mostly enjoying. I'm enjoying my time here the most I can. And my neighbor is Albert, one of the competitors, and we're having fun, a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm having a blast.
Well, we've been having a blast with all of you. Thank you so much for joining today. And we very much look forward to seeing you next week and the subsequent 2 Piano Tuesday Backstage at Cliburn 22 episodes. Thank you so much.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in. Join us next week. And as we mentioned, we will be focusing on the three finalists, Uzladislau Kondohi, Clayton Stevenson, and Ilya Shmukler, all huge personalities on stage and off. So you don't want to miss that.
Thank you so much. We're done for the day. Have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to next week.